Hey everyone, I'm Winnie and I'm back with another series. This is a contemporary romance series and the very first book is The Bridge by Jill Cox. So we have our main character, Meredith Sullivan. She's in college and she's majoring in French. So one of her goals is to get the Beckett Scholarship, which allows her to study abroad in Paris for 1 year. And we follow her as she studies in Paris and as she explores and goes on many adventures. So in this book, we also have Drew. Basically, they're best friends like since childhood, and she has had a long-term crush on him, and we see how their relationship kind of changes. We also have Pete, and he is a classmate. He also gets the scholarship, and so she goes to Paris with Pete and two other students. And she has had a bad impression of Pete, and there's many misunderstandings in the past, but as she gets to learn more about him as they study together in Paris, she realizes that she actually doesn't know him, and it's just interesting to see how she was wrong about certain things and how she gets to really learn about him as a person, and it's really different than what she thought. And yeah, I read a lot of reviews, and a lot of people said that they loved how the author described the places in Paris. It felt like they were in Paris with Meredith, going on all these adventures with her. And yes, I do think that the author does a great job of describing the place, the buildings, and yeah, it just feels like you are kind of there with them. And I've never been to Paris before, so I have no idea, but this book did give me a sense of what the environment might be like, what kinds of buildings there are. So I think if you've been to Paris before, or if you want to go to Paris or learn more about Paris, this might be a series for you to pick up. And yeah, when I finished this book, I remember at a book club meeting with my friend, I rated it a 3.5. And personally, when I buy books, I like to buy books that have a rating of 4 stars and up. Kind of just my personal preference. I usually don't buy books, or I don't really look into books that have ratings that are less than 4 stars. But honestly, after I read it and rated it at 3.5 stars, that's when I realized that a 3 point something is not a bad rating at all. It doesn't make a book a bad book. I remember telling my friend, 3.5 for me is kind of not that high, right? But I remember telling her that it wasn't a bad book. I still enjoyed the story, and I didn't feel I wasted my time reading it. No. I liked the book. I just didn't love it, if you know what I mean. But yeah, so it kind of gave me a different perspective. When I look for books, I shouldn't just, put aside the books that are maybe less than 4 stars or whatever, because honestly, every book is, everyone's experience with reading a book is so different, and there's so many factors as to why someone might like a book and why they might not like it. So yeah, so after reading it, I remember saying I didn't really feel like buying the second book. I didn't really feel compelled to continue this series and read the second and the third book. But when I made my order, I actually ordered the first and second book at the same time. I just went ahead and ordered both of them. My thinking was I didn't want to finish the first book and have to wait to order the second book and then read the second book. I wanted to have the second book already available to me, so in case I wanted to read the second book, I would already have it. And the reviews are good, so I was sure that I would like it, so that's why I just bought both books. And I did like it. I just didn't love it, So yeah, I told her I kind of regretted buying the second book because like, you know, I should have just waited. I should have just like read the first book and then see how I like that, you know, instead of like, yeah. Which brings me to the second book, The Long Walk. So although I didn't really feel like reading the second book, you know, since I bought it already, I wasn't gonna just let it sit on my shelf and not read it, right? So I eventually got around to reading it, and I wasn't that excited because I, like, you know, like I was kind of just like, like, but anyway, so when I read the second book and finished it, let me just say I was surprised at how much I liked the second book. And I take back what I said about like regretting like buying the second book, because when I met with my friend for the next like book club meeting, I was telling her, yeah, remember what I said about not really like liking the first book that much? Like it was just like, it was like okay. I was like, well, you know what, I really liked the second book, and I was so surprised. So in the second book, we continue with Meredith's like story. She's like done studying at Paris. She's back in her home. Where does she live again? Oh, I think she goes back to Oregon. That's where she's from. So now she's back in Oregon, and yeah, we continue to see how her life plays out. And so at this point, something happens to like a huge event happens, and it deals with loss and grief. And so we kind of see how this event like played a big part in Meredith's life and how it affects her a lot. And Meredith and Pete's relationship also like goes through some like ups and downs. And I guess one conclusion that I came to after reading this book was things don't always work out, but life has an interesting way of like bringing things like back, or like life has an interesting way of working out in the end. And yeah, I also think that since every reader's experience is so different, one big reason why I like this book so much was because I was able to connect to a lot of things in this second book. Like there were many scenes throughout the book where I could really like relate to what was being talked about, what was being referenced, maybe something that the character was like going through. Like there were a lot of places where I could really like connect, and I think that's what like makes someone's reading experience even more like I guess why they rate a book so highly, or like why they like it so much, because it's like, you know, maybe there were just things that really resonated, like that they really resonated with. And you know, like obviously it's not gonna like those same things might not like click with other readers, but for me personally, there were a lot of those like connections. So I think that's why I like the second book so much. Well, I can't say I like this so much more than the first, but I will say that I definitely liked it a lot. Like, and it, after reading the second book, it did make me want to buy the third book and finish the series off. Yeah. And also, oh, one more thing. In the second book, the author does something so clever. Like, I don't know how to explain it. You will have to read it in order to like know what I'm talking about, because I don't know spoilers here. I don't want to like spoil it, but she does something really like, I just think it's so clever, like, and that really added like another like it added to why I like this book so much. Like, yeah, she does something that, you know, those moments where like something comes full circle. It's like I remember talking with a friend before, and we were talking about how like in books, like it's like she loves how things come full circle, like something at the way beginning and something at the end, and it's like it just feels so like complete. And I totally agreed with her. Like I was like, yes, books that have that, it's just yeah, another level of wow. So there was something like that in this book, but I won't say what it is. But yeah, you can find out for yourself if you do plan on reading it, and I'm sure you'll know what I'm talking about when you do read it. And then that brings us to the final book, the third book. I don't think you can, it says Dear Sully. So this is the final book, and it's really cool because now Meredith is no longer the one telling the story. We are seeing Pete's point of view. And I have to say, this book fills in so many blanks. So when you read the first and second book, it's kind of like there might be questions or like things that you're wondering about, but it's not reviewed, and you know. But this third book pretty much fills in all those gaps, and it answers the questions that you may be wondering about. Like it just answers all your questions, and everything makes so much more sense, like with Pete's point of view of things. And I put like sticky notes like throughout the book, because you know I really like some of the lines in the book. So I'll just go through some of them and read them to you, just so you can have an idea of like, you know, what the dialogue is like, or yeah. So in this conversation we have Pete's grandma talking to him, and the grandma is saying, "Listen to me, darling. You cannot give up on life after I'm gone. If you've learned anything from these past few years, let it be that you must keep choosing reasons to live. Your friends need you. This world needs you. Your heart is too beautiful to stop beating just because life is unfair." So I thought that was so sweet, like how she had this conversation with Pete. And yeah, that was one of the places that I marked. Another place that I marked, let me find it. Okay, so this is her grandma talking to Pete again. "I know you want to skip the hard part of losing your parents, but if you don't face down your grief, it will grow and grow until one day it will cripple you when you least expect it. You can trust me on this. I know from experience." And then another one. It's Pete's friend talking to him. So the friend goes, "Just because something's easy doesn't make it the better choice." And here, I'll read two more. Okay, the same friend. "You can keep running for the rest of your life, but you'll never escape that hole in your heart because you refuse to get the help you need." And the very last line that I wanted to share, it's another friend talking to Pete about like cleansing like your social circles, like your social media type of stuff. So she says, "What good does it do to watch the rest of the world curate the image they want us to have instead of actually living our own lives?" And that scene, Pete's friend tells him how happy she was after she, like, I guess went through like a social media like cleaning kind of thing, where she unfollowed accounts, or like she kind of like just went through her like social media and just kind of like did like a whole cleanse kind of thing. And yeah, I really liked it because it's true, like, you know, instead of like watching other people and like live their lives on social media and comparing or whatnot, it's kind of like, why don't we just live our own lives, you know? Like, so that's why I really like that. Let's see, I wrote down the things I'm supposed to be talking about because I finished this series kind of recently, but not too recently. I also read many other books after finishing the series, so my memory is kind of like not the most fresh. So that's why I had to write down everything that I wanted to talk about to make sure I don't forget anything. Yeah, I think I covered everything. Oh, yes, in the third book, even though things are from Pete's perspective, we still get to learn about other characters, like their friends, like his family members. So yeah, we get to see like the thinking and the actions of like other characters, and it's kind of like, that was really interesting too, because it's like, maybe I didn't know much about this character, but from the third book I was able to learn even more, and it really made me love some characters even more after reading about the things that they did, like that we did not know about before. And yeah, that's about it. I covered everything. So yes, these are the 3 books to the series. And oh, okay, a note on the romance. It's very clean. It's no explicit scenes or anything. The romance is very clean and sweet. So yes, younger readers can also read this. Yeah, if you have any questions about the series or any of the books, you can leave your questions down in the comments and I will try my best to answer them for you. But yeah, check this series out. Oh, these are all out of order, but yeah. Thank you for watching this video. I'll see you in the next. Bye.